Hey everybody, Shawn Holsinger here from holsingersflyshop.com, bringing you a nymph pattern today. This is an old school nymph pattern using some new materials. This pattern was actually created by Don Martinez back in the 30s, been around forever, and been around almost 100 years. That's pretty cool. And it's just an old school pattern, but using some new materials that they definitely wouldn't have had back then. I like flash, so I'm going to add some flash instead of, back then they would have used raffia. You could use like Swiss straw or something like that now. And I'm going to use some different chenille that's definitely wasn't around back then. So anyways guys, really simple pattern, easy to tie. Keep it small as always, and I'm not going to talk much more about it. Here you're going to see the pattern and then the material list to tie it. Okay, here you see the black Martinez Stone in the vise. Cool looking pattern. I'm going to tie it in a golden form here on the video. So let's get into tying it. For a hook, I'm using a Daiichi 1730. This has a nice little bend to it. I think just gives it a little more lifelike look to it. And this is size 10 I'm tying it in. Definitely tie it smaller, tie it bigger if you want. For some lead, I'm tying 0.020 and I'm going to put, I don't know, I didn't count there, probably 12 or 15 wraps I'd say. So what I want to do is I want to go just over the hump a little bit, give me lots of room for a head, and I want to give some room to build up the tail area here. So then I'm going to put on some 140 Denier yellow thread and just wrap that in there behind the lead to lock it in place, and then I'm going to hop up in front and lock it in place up front and then just cover it up. And then we'll just trim off our butt there. Next thing we're going to do is put the tail on it. The original pattern calls for a guinea feather, so I'm just going to go with the guinea on here. And take off a clump of feathers here, or fibers here. I don't know, 10 or 15 or so. Not a ton, but enough that you're sure you got a tail back there. For my tail section, I'm going to go about the length of that, to where that hump is on the shank. I want a little bit of a long tail, but not really, really long. And just keep things proportionate. Don't go overboard. More natural looking, the better. So a lot of beginners I see making the mistake of going way too long on tails and wings and stuff like that. Next thing is some Brassie size black wire. This is going to give us a nice rib here in a little bit. We're going to tie that on. Just wrap that on the side, and then we're going to come in and put the abdomen on here. And for that, I'm using some Red Squirrel Nymph Abdomen from SLF Pattern Blends. I'm just going to dub some on here. I don't want to go real thick. I want this to taper upwards. I don't want to go real thick on it. I'll build it up if I have to. Just twist that on my thread there, and then we're going to start wrapping it forward. Get right there at that tail, and just start wrapping it forward, creating a nice little slight taper. Not trying to go too big with it here. And I want to get it right up to that bend. When I get up to that bend, I'm going to stop. Now with my wire, I want to counter wrap. I want to wrap the opposite way I wrap the dubbing on. And by doing that, it's not going to fall down in my dubbing and get lost. It's going to make it more visible if you counter wrap it. So we're just going to wrap that up there. Now the thing with counter wrapping, I will say, it takes a few more wraps to tie it off. So, you know, if I wrapped it the same way, 3 or 4 wraps and it would tie down. But because it's going the opposite way, it takes a couple more wraps to lock it into place. So there we go. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the flashback on it. And for that, I'm going to use some Flashback Peacock here. And it comes in a big long piece of foil and I just cut strips off. About a little bit smaller than the hook gap here is the size I want. We're just going to tie that down, right on top. Make sure it stays right in the center on top. And then here's another one of those new material. That's definitely a new material. The original material would use like raffia or Swiss straw would work good here. Use a green or you know, a gold, something to set it off. Next thing I'm going to use, this material definitely wasn't around back then, was some fly fish foods. This is Stonefly Chenille Black Ginger. I like the variegated look here. It just gives it a little bit extra color, more natural. Nothing in nature is solid colors, so I just like to give it a little bit more of a mottled look to it. And then we're going to start right at that foil and wrap it forward, side by side wraps, not over wrapping it and making it too big. And I want to, a little bit before the head there, I want to tie it off. I want to leave room to make a head here. I don't want to crowd everything up there. And then we'll just trim this chenille off and then bring our flashback up over. So we're just going to pull that up over and then tie it off right there behind the eye. And then I like to pull it back over to tie it down. It locks it in place, and I can clean up that head a little bit by doing it that way. And then just trim it off. Okay, now the last thing we're going to do is put the legs on it. For this, you can use a partridge. I'm just going to use this is like Brahma hen here. And I'm going to grab the tips, stroke the tips back like you can see here, and tie down by the tip. Make a couple wraps, get that tied down there. Make sure it's not going anywhere. And then I'm just going to wrap my hackle forward. Oops, get my hackle pliers on here. There we go. And I'm going to stroke the fibers back and wrap them forward. Get about 2 good wraps on here. It's a big fly, so I can go a little bit longer. As you see here, these are kind of long, but that's fine on this fly. It's a bigger fly, so trim that off, and then we're just going to finish off that head. Make some nice clean wraps up here to clean everything up. And then whip finish my head. And then last thing, I'm going to hit just a little bit of head cement on there. For me, I like to use Solar Bone Dry because I don't have to wait for it to dry. Wrap a little bit of bone dry around there, hit it with my light, and it's done. And there you have very cool looking stonefly pattern. You can swing it, you can nymph it, do whatever you want with it, and good looking pattern there. Okay guys, I hope you like that fly. Easy to tie. This is one you can swing, you can dead drift, you can nymph, however you want to fish it. You know, whatever style you like to do. I figured this one's going to be a good steelhead pattern because I know in my area steelheads love stones. Love stoneflies. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to swing it on my leader when I'm swinging for steelhead this fall. Right around the corner here. Hoping to head out in the next week or two. But anyways, if I don't, I'm going to tie some up here. Tied in some different colors. I showed you 2 different colors in the video there. Create, mix and match some of your own. Definitely tied in some browns. My favorite colors, the stones, are blacks, browns, and yellows. So have fun, experiment, see what works for you guys. If you need any of the materials, like always, please go to our website, holsingersflyshop.com. And if you want me to tie these or any other flies you see in my videos, you can email me at holsingersflyshop@gmail.com. I do tons of custom tying. And make sure show season's coming around here. Fly Tying Symposium is going to be here before we know it here in a couple weeks. So if you're in the New Jersey area, don't miss out on the chance to go to the symposium. It's going to be a great show, great lineup of tyers this year. Have fun tying, guys. Until next week when I bring you another video, I'm Shawn Holsinger.